So I was the first employee at a digital bank, helped the founders grow that, scale that, mostly focused on business development and marketing in my role. Um, then started a company in London, originally built something in the FinTech and investment space because that was my background. However, I had quite a lot of challenges with that first product idea, pivoted, and then the last company I built before getting into my current venture was a customer support platform. And we were specifically focused on and targeting community-driven companies, so companies that have large online communities. So we were working with a lot of companies in the crypto space, some in the gaming space, some in the AI space, and sold that company a couple of months ago. Took a bit of time off and then jumped right back into the startup journey in August and currently building tools and infrastructure for vibe coders. And yeah, happy to share a bit more about that.
All right, let's get into it. Look, I wanna touch on the history a little bit. What was it like selling the company? Was it I've achieved what I've needed to, or was it just the right move for the right moment?
It's a mix of factors. So with that company, we got it to a stage where it was in a pretty stable position, it's
Hmm.
generating revenues, growing. However, the fact was that it was something that was more of a vertical SaaS. So we lost a bit of conviction that okay, this is like a venture skill business that can have like the billion-dollar outcome.
Hmm.
So that is why we decided to sell it at the point that we sold it.
Good sell. Can we talk on the numbers or not?
No.
In a couple of years when it's all kind of like I'll get back to it. But so we're working on something and stuff right now. It's all very building infrastructure for vibe code. This is how I think about it. Am I right in saying that?
That's right, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Boots on the ground. Are people vibe coding or is it just a fad?
Well, I mean, from what we've seen and the people that we've interacted with, yeah, people are definitely vibe coding
What
and
does that mean to you? Like the word itself, when I think about it, it's someone that is like just literally hitting like command enter with an LLM as it comes up with new code. Is that how you define vibe coding?
so I mean, yeah, there's a lot of different sort of personas, right, of people who are vibe coding. One, you've got actual engineers who are, engineers by background. They are, full-time working as a software engineer. They know how to code. However, they might be using AI to help them write code faster, or sometimes, write a lot of code as they're starting on a new project. And then there's the non-technical vibe coders who the group that we're working with mostly, but I would say even there's quite a lot of subgroups. So on the one hand you've got people who are typically or quite often like product managers or designers working in startups and scale ups, and they're using these tools such as lovable, bold, or
Hmm.
maybe cursor if they're a bit more advanced
What are we
to
seeing most people using? Is it lovable, bulk, cursor, windsurf?
depends. It depends on the use case. Typically, what we see is that when the first time they start, if they're not technical by background, Lovable, Bold, V0, Replit,
Hmm.
those are the more popular tools, and it makes sense because these are web-based. It's super easy to get set up, get started. You don't need to know any. Yeah, you don't really need to have any prior knowledge. So those are typically the entry points for majority of people. As the projects get more complex, we do see a bit of a spillover and people moving to tools like CloudCode, Cursor, because they're a bit more flexible and you can have a bit more control over your project. But obviously, there's a bit of a setup friction there. And to go back to you to the original question, so we've got people that are vibe coding within company settings, so they're creating prototypes. And instead of a PM creating a very extensive document explaining what needs to be done, they can now show what needs to be done, which can be a lot more powerful. Same with designers. They can now create working prototypes much faster and test that with users and share feedback with the team. And yeah, that this is very powerful. And then of course you've got people that are doing it for themselves, either for fun or to build their own personal projects or to try and build actual technology businesses apps that they want to launch or have already launched to the public. Obviously, yeah, we do see churn as well. I mean, not necessarily for us because we haven't launched our product yet, but I mean, just generally in this space, obviously you do have people as well that are curious, try it out, but they're not like serious. They're not serious about pursuing a project. But definitely, there's a portion of people who are who are very much into this and are using these tools daily.
What's the best use case you've seen, or what's the best sort of application that has been built with a vibe coded product that you've seen through the just talking to customers and the different personas?
Yeah, so what I've seen is that the best products that feel nice and look nice typically are it's built by people who either have experience in design or like a keen eye for design. I think that's quite important if you want, especially if you're building a consumer product. So some of the prototypes that I've seen that people are working on, one person is working on like a mental health app, and a lot of attention to design. Another girl I spoke with, she's working on like a women's health app. Again, she's actually a product designer by background. So these apps, they feel very nice, like any sort of quote unquote professionally built app, just because they've really taken that into consideration. And then on the company side, there are some examples, and these are just like publicly available. You can see people employees in those companies having shared about that on their LinkedIn, for example. Companies like Intercom, I think they're very advanced in how they are using vibe coding tools in their workflows to let designers or PMs prototype. And because of how they've set things up, it's actually quite easy for them to use the styles and designs that are used in the real app. So you can really make if you, let's say you're designing a new feature, you want to prototype that, you want to show that to customers, you can really make that look and feel like your real or the rest of your product because of the integrations that they've built with tools like Cursor. Yeah, and I think this is really interesting. Also, another stat that I saw recently is the head of UX, I believe at Shopify. She posted on X that 100% of her design team has adopted Cursor. So all of the designers are already using Cursor. And it doesn't mean that they're not using other tools anymore, or that they're not using design tools anymore. They're still using design tools as well, of course as well. But I think it's very interesting, so that everyone is creating workable prototypes.
How important is the
Working
design
prototypes.
over the use of the actual product today? Because if we can just spin up base functions, base utility, is the design the more important piece from what you're seeing?
It depends on what sort of product or app we're talking about. I would say for a consumer app, or like what is that as an example, something like a mental health app or a fitness
Yep.
tracking app, or these apps that, of course, it's so these verticals are very competitive. First of all, they're very competitive. So you have to be very good at marketing. That's sort of a given. And also, this like more simple SaaS apps or productivity apps, those are quite competitive categories. So you have to be good at marketing for certainly. But then also, there's typically not so much technical innovation in these types of apps. So the technology doesn't necessarily have to be a roadblock. Obviously, that doesn't mean that you don't need a technical co-founder to build a startup. It really depends what kind of startup you're building. Like, for example, for myself, I'm working with a technical co-founder, and that is very important. And I couldn't, you know, do what we're looking to do without that, because we're building infrastructure. We obviously use AI tools to accelerate our building journey, but it's not something that you can build without technical knowledge or that foundation. But there are definitely apps that you can now build and get to production and get to scale without an engineering background. It's not as simple as put a prompt and it just spins it up. Obviously, you have to plan it, think about it, think about the
Do you
architecture.
think downstream that would
Yeah.
actually be possible with tools
Um,
like Lovable Cloud coming out, where it is just prompt backends built, let's go,
we're getting closer.
right?
As you might have seen, Lovable released uh, a sort of a backend packaged within the product, so you don't have to go out of the product and set up your Base account and do the integration. So it is getting easier. also CloudCode with the latest model, Sonnet 4.5, people are reporting, and also I'm seeing it myself a little bit, even though I'm not vibe coding anything very complicated, but yeah, people are reporting, okay, now I'm just letting CloudCode run much longer sessions without interfering. So it might be running for hours, and obviously, then after it's created all the code, people might still like check it or review it, but it is able to do, yeah, more. Again, also Replit, they recently launched a new agent, and the purpose of that agent is, and to a similar extent, to when it's stuck or when there's errors, not just say to the user, there's an error, but actually if there's an error, to check what the error is, try to self-correct it. So yeah, I mean, obviously we'll get closer and closer to that future. But I don't think there's definitely going to be human involvement for the foreseeable future.
You're obviously building infrastructure for all of this. How are you thinking about it? Like, what are the core pain points of vibe coders or people that are using these tools to code?
Yeah, so what I've been doing over the past 2 months or so since I've started this new company has been a lot of work in terms of user interviews, talking to people, figuring out what the pain points are. There's a few common themes. One is around complexity, because especially as we were just talking about, these coding agents are getting better, so they can. Before, maybe you had to control them and you only let them do very small things. Now you let them do bigger things, but that also means that they're creating 1,000 lines of code and very quickly, and you don't really know what's going on.
Right.
And that can be a problem, because then once you want to debug it, because it's far from perfect, you want to debug it or you want to add a feature, but it's then really hard to prompt the agent what to do, because you don't really understand your own system. That's one problem. It's a problem for engineers, but even more, I would say, for people who don't have that technical background. So one of the things that we will be doing is, giving more visibility into not only what does your code do or what's the meaning of what you've written, but also visualizing that, how are different elements connected. If you want to add a new feature, what database tables is it likely going to be affecting and touching what functions? What kind of business rule and logic have you implemented in your app? For example, let's say you maybe have a trial or a refund period, and there's a lot of to any app you build, there's always a lot of logic and rules, and over time you forget that. And especially if you're building things so quickly, or maybe the AI has made some decisions on your behalf, you don't really know what's going on. So that's sort of complexity, visibility. Security is another thing that's sort of on top of a lot of people's minds. I do think a lot of the vibe coding tools are very aware of that, so they are actually adding a lot of features in that in that area already. Another thing is just writing the right prompts can be challenging for people as well. Depending on
What does a
technical.
good prompt look like today?
Sorry, go on.
What does a good prompt look like today?
Well, so the thing is that, so for example, when I start a project, and I think that's the same for most other people that I've spoken to that, have been vibe coding a bit and are like quite into this. Yeah, we all try to be fairly specific and write a PRD, which is a product requirement document.
Do you use chat PRD to write a PRD?
I am familiar with ChatGPT. Personally, I usually use the regular sort of either Claude or ChatGPT. So yeah, I write a PRD and then input that into my coding agent, just so that it has the context and knows what it has to do, versus just like writing one line and seeing what it comes up with. I think you could do that if you could just write one sentence if you want to just experiment, explore. But I think if you do that, that's fine if you want to create some mockups or something. But then probably if you do that, you might restart your project once you have a better idea of what you actually want to um do. So I tend to be like, I try to be fairly specific with what I want, and also obviously ask the AI to let me know if it needs any clarification, or yeah, if anything needs to be added. And then for us, for example, right, with the prompting, one of the things that we're planning to do, because our product is around code storage, so we're storing people's code, or we're helping them with version control automatically. No need to learn like Git or GitHub. But then because we've got access to the code, we can do a lot more. So one of the things that we plan to add as well is helping people create better context-aware prompts, because we have access to the code, we understand, we know what's going on. So let's say a non-technical person, maybe they want to add off, but if you just say add off, maybe it's going to work, but it's not very precise or not very specific. For us, because we've got access to the code base, we can help. Yeah, we can easily help them generate more precise and better prompts as well.
Like when we're like, I know when I'm vibe coding, I feel like I'm surfing a little bit, like you're sort of surfing this wave of thinking of like, I want to go down this path of go build this product. Obviously, building a technical product, just coding in general, is very structured thought. It sort of goes against the frame of vibe coding, but like if you can deal with the 3 to 5 instances of cursor in one window, you can sort of like go off, build features left, right, and center. When you're go
That's
on.
another use case that we didn't talk about yet in this conversation, but that's another thing that people, yeah, that's sort of the next step. This is
Oh,
what when you
are you seeing that on your, like through when talking to customers, like they're actively doing
it's
this? It's
not
not
right.
just hype.
Yeah, that's an example of when you said, is it just hype, or are people actually doing this? There's not so many people. There are people doing this. I have spoken to people who are actually doing that, but I think it's not so common yet. Definitely something that you see more commonly on social media, maybe, than actually people are doing it. But I know some people who are doing that. So they are
What are
actually,
their
yeah.
pain points? Is it the fact that you are building so many things and then you have nowhere to commit the code to?
So there's a few things. So there's a company called Vibe Kanban, and they are helping you actually manage different, if you're, yeah, how do you manage it if you're managing all these different agents. And then what people do, so I do know a few people who are actually doing it, and what they typically do is they really manage it like they would be managing a team of engineers. So they
Right.
spend a lot of time, maybe hours or a day, to write all of the different tickets, or however they want to organize it. But yeah, for example, this is also one person I spoke with. They actually use a very quote unquote traditional process, as in they use linear. They write the tickets as if you were to assign, tickets to different engineers, different projects, different features. Then they integrate linear with CloudCode, and then yeah, and then let CloudCode handle the ticket. So you have to be quite organized, because otherwise, if you've got like different windows running at the same time, and it needs input from you, it's hard to, and you don't know what's going on. It's very hard to manage that. The other thing as well is, of course, you have to make sure, or you have to try and let the agents work on different sections of your product. Otherwise, it can become a bit challenging to merge the code.
It's wild, isn't it? Like, have you watched them live do it?
I have actually in a hackathon. Actually, did see one person. Yeah.
Do you think you could just in Claude Code, like get up a couple instances and just like riff?
So yeah, for me personally, I haven't done that yet. The only thing that I've done sometimes is that I have several windows open, but
Yep.
that's just something I'm working on. That's actually me working on like totally unrelated on products. I haven't done it for one product. I would say also the things that I've been
Iris,
working
are you
for.
telling me you can work on 3 separate things at the same time?
Yeah, so for example, today, let's say as an example this morning, and these are like fairly like simple use cases, right? So for my blog, I vibe coded it. Then now when I have to update it, I have to actually because I might also I might have add a headless CMS, or maybe vibe code my own CMS. At the moment, I don't have that, so
You're gonna vibe code a CMS? That's nuts.
uh or yeah, I think it's very feasible. Like, and of course, it's not going to have all the features that like
Of
the huge
course.
CMS have, but just something simple. Like, because at the moment, how my blog works is that it's just the content is all just stored in a JSON file,
Yep.
and then I just ask Claude Code to update that file whenever I have new content. So yeah, I was updating some stuff there. At the same time, I was updating some stuff on another website. So yeah, these are just kind of simple edits. yeah, haven't explored myself like working with multiple coding agents at the same time, but it's coming.
It's coming. It definitely is. It feels like it. Did you see the release of OpenAI's Dev Day with the agent flow?
Yeah, that's another interesting.
Thoughts?
Yeah. So, as actually, when you asked before, what are the main use cases of vibe coding? That's another one that I didn't touch upon yet because it's not maybe not so related to our work, but obviously it is a big
In the
use
context of vibe coding, in the context of
it's
building
a huge
product.
it's a huge use case, right? Because it's not only PMs and designers who are vibe coding or prototyping part of the
Feels more like vibe
core
working
product.
these days, right?
It's more, it's also other teams, like let's say sales team or marketing team. If you're thinking about, okay, how are they going to be interacting with code or these vibe coding tools, it's more likely like they're probably or they're not as likely to go and change the core product if it's a tech startup, but they are maybe going to be creating some of these flows. I mean, they previously were already anyway, depending on the company, with in tools like Make, Zapier, and N, and now there is a new, yeah, now there is a new option for them. And like a lot of people are also talking about, okay, does this mean that all of the other tools are going to go extinct? I don't think so necessarily, because and what this is what I've been seeing on LinkedIn, and also I agree with myself, like way before OpenAI existed, I've been using tools like Zapier for like a very long time, when it just actually kind of from the beginning when it just came out. And um it's also proven to be really useful for a lot of other use cases. It doesn't have to be only about creating AI agents. There's so many workflows that you might want to automate that have nothing to do with AI. So I think there's still a place for these types of tools. However, I mean, yeah, the the agentic and the agent building tools with OpenAI, that's going to be a big market as well. Are you thinking about any agents that to build for your
Not
like
a
show
lot. Oh,
or?
I mean, like every single time. I actually have agents for a lot of the show notes, for a lot of the copy. The editing's the difficult one for obvious reasons, because you've got to like refine the craft and sort of figure out what works and what doesn't. And today, I just it's a combination of what feels like the analytical AI that you have in these tools, like Opus Clip as an example. Veed's like it as well. It's great. It does 90% of the heavy lifting, but you still have to sit there and figure out, is this going to convert? Because the data set just isn't big enough to be like, well, we've tested if this organic content works or not. And so coming back and looking at the transcript, I don't know. And then the visuals on top of that, is that going to be a clippable moment? Is that going to be an attention grabbing moment in the feed? Who knows? Because the way that we've consumed content has changed. And that means that this like huge data set that we have on YouTube with all of these touch points of what we would consider to be like attention moments is like great of how a video works, especially if it's an hour long and cut down into like 5-10 minute clips. But we consume most of our content through the clip today. And still, it doesn't hit all the marks. So I try where I can.
And I think also what is kind of specifically related to content, as you're saying, if something works, it doesn't work anymore because people always want novelty, right?
It's true. And that's what makes it so difficult, is you're constantly having to iterate on what the product is. And like, especially in your case, you're building infrastructure for technology, for people like solving a real world use case. With content being the product, you consistently have to push the boundaries of like chaos, show up consistently. And that's a difficult blend to do.
I did see, by the way, maybe you've seen that as well on LinkedIn yesterday. There was a release of a new product that Stephen Bartlett co-founded.
Flightcast, yeah.
Yes,
That's
and
really cool. But you know why I like that? Because it's a combination of distribution plus product. And so he's obviously going to be using Flightcast inside of his own, like inside of Flight Story. We're hopefully getting some of the team on in the coming weeks. And at the same time, that product in the market is needed. It's required because
and I think yeah,
everything's
I
moving
think
video first.
yeah, and I think there they are saying that they're going to be focusing on automatic clipping. But yeah, we'll see how well it works.
We'll see if they're building it like a startup or if it's going to be like a venture studio. Because there's two set, like I feel like there's sometimes two separate blends. They move at a slightly different pace compared to a startup. or the startups that we know and love today?
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's a yeah different model.
Oh, it's still building product though, Iris. I
Yeah.
don't think they're going to be
Oh, I
vibe
mean,
coding it
yeah,
though.
but yeah, of course, it's just a slightly different model.
Look, before we let you go, I'll let you crack on with building infra. I want to know who's on your Mount Rushmore of founders. When you look in history at just the greats, that people that you like to consume and learn from, who are they for you?
So in terms of, like recommendations or business books that I've quite enjoyed or people that I follow today. So this is a book that came out a long time ago, but I still yeah, I really like it. It's called The Hard Things About Hard Things.
Yeah,
You're probably familiar with it. And after I read that when I was going
Ben
through quite a
Horowitz,
bad, yeah,
A16Z.
I was going through quite a bad moment at that time. It was quite a long time ago. And then I read the book and I was like, oh wow, actually this is nothing. Like everyone is going through yeah, even the companies that achieved so much, they've gone through such like disasters and the company is
What does
one
he
week.
say in the book? It's very much. I used to go to bed like a baby every night, cry myself to sleep.
Yeah, it's so tough. And then also, every company that used in the end has these really great outcomes. They've also been in these moments where they're like, we're literally 1 week away from running out of money, and we already fired like half the staff, and still we're almost running out of money. And then just in that last moment, last week or last day, you get the term sheet signed. So yeah, you just realize, okay, it's normal that you're always at that edge. But you forget that, of course, because it's everyone knows like social media is just like a highlight reel, and you're just seeing all of these huge rounds being announced. And then a book that I read more recently last month that I thought was pretty good is one called Pattern Breakers that my
Mm.
co-founder actually recommended to me. Let me just quickly check who the
Who the
author is.
authors on Pattern Breakers?
Yeah, it's written by Mike Maples. He's an investor, and like he invested in a lot of iconic companies. And that book it's quite interesting, and it's talking about how you should think about innovation and what to bring to market, and some of the interesting points are also around. Okay, you have to. I mean, yeah. It always comes down to the core thing in investing, right? You have to be contrarian and right.
Hmm.
And the other and one of the things that he's saying about it, he's got a bit of framework as well, how you should think about positioning your innovation. And one of the things that kind of stuck with me as well is that of course you have to be right, and you have to be right about the direction the future is going in. But at the same time, some of your predictions, they still need to be somewhat controversial, because otherwise, if everyone already agrees with it, you're pro yeah it's pro it's it you might be too late already. So yeah, what is your I mean, this is a thing that investors always ask, or quite often ask, like, what's your unique insight? Yeah, what is something that other people how do you see the future more clearly than other people?
Hmm.
But at the same time, also you must be right, of course. And then yeah,
Last two, come on,
there's
two
definitely a
more.
few things. There's definitely a few things that we that we are thinking about as well, that we didn't even touch upon in this podcast, but that we're thinking about in terms of like the further future. So for example, one of the themes that my girlfriend and I are very excited about is what we call software you can summon. So software that just spins up as you want it, when you want it, without it always being pre-created, pre-coded. And just to wrap up very quickly, there was a very interesting launch by Anthropic a week or two ago, when they launched this demo called Imagine with Claude. And
Hmm.
it's no longer prompt based. So you write one prompt, it spins up an interface, you click a button, and because of that interaction of you clicking a button, it spins up new components, new elements. So that is true like generative UI without even any prompts, without even any prompting. And we're thinking very much about that future as well.
Oh, I like it. We're gonna have to get you back on the show with a co-founder. This has been fun. Iris, thank you so much. We appreciate the time. I'm going to let you get back to building infra and all those customer interviews. So thanks.
Oh, all right. Thanks so much. And Be in touch.
Absolutely.